Welcome back, uh, dear students. We will continue our learning of exception handling. So in the previous example, we saw that an exception was thrown in the main method, and because we were not handling the exception, so the program was terminated. And we also saw the behavior of default catch. Right. One thing which is important, I need to mention here. It is, you can see here, an important behavior of exception handling. When I executed the exception demo, you saw that this exception is appearing in main method, right? This says that the exception is in main method, which is inside exception demo class, and that is inside exception demo.java file, right? Now let us see a scenario where exception will not be in the main method, but it will be in a method which is being called from the main, right? Say for example, if I have got a public static, right, I call it my method, and inside this my method I have got this type of these type of statement which are throwing exception. Now you can see here I print this statement and then I call my method. I can call my method because my method is a static method, and the static method can be called from within a static context. Main is static, so it can call only other static methods. Right. Now you can see exception is not inside the main method, but the exception is being caused inside a method which is called from the main method. Right. So this way you will see that the still program will be terminated. This statement will be displayed. Exception will be caused from here because of this method call. So obviously it will tell you where the exception appeared, and then program will be terminated. So this statement will certainly not be executed. But this time we'll get some more information. This default handler that is provided by Java, which catches the exception and terminates program, it will tell you that where exactly exception appeared. Right. Let's see this behavior. I compile exception demo.java. Okay. And then when I run it, Java exception demo, then you can see here. You can see here. Now it says, I don't think these fonts are making sense. Okay. So now you can see here, this says arithmetic exception division by 0 at my method. So this time it is telling you that exception is inside my method. And then it is telling you this my method was called from the main method. So you can see a complete track of the exception is given by this default handler. This tells you that exception is at the line number 6, but that actually is not at the line number 6. It is actually at the line number 13, because line number 6 is actually called to the my method. So you can see this my method information is also provided, and the statement where actually exception appeared inside main, it is also provided. So this says that these are the lines which you need to look at. So a simple, tracking of the exception is you first see this location number 6. You will see that it is calling this method. Then inside this method, you need to go to location number 30. Right. So you can see this default handler, although it terminates the program, but before terminating, it is going to give you complete information about the exception. Okay, so now we move to the next topic. These are the uncut exceptions which we are not handling. Default handler is handling it, and it's a behavior not very ideal. It at least gives us information, right? But then program is eventually terminated. Now let us see the magic of try catch. We handle exceptions by using try block and catch block. They've got certainly advantages. Number one is program does not terminate, and number two is it allows you to fix runtime error, right? I mean, if you as a programmer foresee a statement which might throw an exception, you should come up with a plan to handle that situation, right? So the situation, the statement that you think that it might cause an exception, you should keep those statements inside try block. And if the exception is thrown, then the corresponding catch block will be executed. Now remember, for each try block, you need to provide at least one catch block. There can be multiple catch blocks, but at least one catch block is required. And the execution sequence is simple. If you foresee a statement which you think that it might cause an exception, you should keep those statements inside try block. And if an exception is thrown, then the corresponding catch block will be executed. Obviously, if exception is not thrown, then catch block will not be executed. Let's see an example. Use of try and catch blocks. Right. Okay. So here I'm going to create a new class. I call it try catch demo. Right. Inside try catch demo, I say public static void main string arg. Right. Okay. Here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have a string. I already have it, so I can write here maybe string name equal to arg at 0, string last name equal to arg at 1, right? And then system dot out dot println name equal to name plus plus last name equal to plus last name, right? Now inside this, this is a simple program which is going to accept two command line argument. We are expecting that two argument will be provided when you execute this program. You already know what is command line argument. So the name will be at the location 0 and last name will be at location 1. We do nothing, we just display name and last name, right? Let's take it. Save it, exception handling, okay. Try catch demo. Java. Try catch demo. Okay. CLS. Okay. So here, Java C try catch demo.java. Java try catch demo. Share the output. Right. So you can see name equal to share, last name equal to the output. Now, you can imagine if I do not provide command line argument, it means that I will be referring to an array location which is not existing. Because if I do not provide, you know, any command line argument, this will cause an exception. You can see here, I now execute this program without any command line argument. You can see array index out of bounds exception, right? It means that I'm trying to access arg at 0 inside this array and this location is not existing, right? So an array index out of bound exception is thrown when you try to refer an element in array which is beyond its last index. Here, obviously, we do not have any value in arg0 or any value in arg1. That is the reason why this array index out of bounds exception is thrown. Right. Now, to handle this type of situation, you should keep this inside try and catch. Right. So you say that keep this inside try. Right. Okay. Okay. Oh, come on. Right. Okay. Inside try. And then we here provide a catch block. Provide a catch block. And I say the catch block is actually a block which will correspond to a try and it will write the type of exception that you expect to be thrown inside try block. So inside try block, you expect that array index out of bounds exception may be thrown, right? So you provide a catch block for array index out of bounds exception, right? Now remember, if exception is thrown inside try, only then catch will execute. Otherwise, catch will not execute, right? So I can write here system dot out dot println. I can write here inside catch. Right. Now, when you are inside catch, you know that exception has been thrown. You know that user has not provided arg0 and arg1. In that case, you can simply write here name equal to default name, right? Whatever you write, and last name equal to uh, default last name. Default last name. Okay, you know the scoping rule. This string and last string last name and name, they are declared inside try block. They're accessible only inside, this try block. So if you try to refer them inside catch block, they will not be accessible. So you need to make them, global so that they are accessible inside try block. So you can write here. You can write here a string name. Initially, you give it null, and string last name, you initially give it null. Right. Now you know that you can access name and last name in both try as well as catch blocks. Right. So now the flow is quite simple. If exception is not thrown, then name will get whatever we have at arg0 and last name will get whatever we have at arg1. And catch will not be executed, will come directly to this statement which prints name and last name. Right. On the other hand, if you do not provide command line argument, then obviously here an exception will be thrown. That is the reason why catch will be executed. And when catch is executed, you know that it will display this statement inside catch, and then name will get default name and last name will get default name, and execution comes here. That is a good thing, eh? I mean, this time your program will not be terminated. Now it can go down to any depth. If you have got another 10,000 of code line, they all will be executed because program will not be terminated. Right. That is the advantage of catching exception. Right. So you can see here in this case, if I provide arg0 and 1, name and last name will get the value. Catch will not be executed. Will come directly to this point. But if we do not provide command line argument, then you know that exception will be thrown here. Catch will be executed. Right. It will display the value, and then we come to the this statement. Right. Let's see. I compile the program again, Java C, this one, okay. And then Java, I provide, this time I'm going to provide, share the output, ARG0 and ARG1. So you can see name equal to share, last name is equal to output, it is still same. When there is no exception, catch has not been executed. But when there is exception, see here, now catch will be executed. Name will be default name, last name will be default last name. So you can see here inside catch. I mean, this actually shows that catch block has been executed. Right? Name equal to default name and last name is equal to, default last name. So you can see in this case, when we provided a catch block, that program did not terminate and it continued execution. Right? And catch gets executed only when an exception is thrown. Otherwise, catch will not be executed, as we saw in this case. Right. Okay. Now, remember, with one try, you can have multiple catches. See this. I say, I have got inside this try, I say integer age equal to 10 divided by 0. Right. Now, you know that this is a situation which will cause an arithmetic exception be thrown. Now remember, in this case, even if you provide name and last name, you know that exception of type array index out of bounds will not be thrown. But when you reach here, another type of exception is thrown, which is actually arithmetic exception. Now, although we have catch block, but this catch block is not matching arithmetic exception. It means that in this case, when arithmetic exception is thrown, catch block will not execute because it is not matching the type of exception which is thrown inside try. So obviously, in this case, even if you provide name and last name at the command line, when you reach here, exception is thrown and type of exception is arithmetic, and this catch block is not matching the type of the exception, so this will not be executed. Resultantly, your program will be terminated from try block. So obviously, in this case, again, the default handler of Java will come into action. And default handler's behavior is, it will catch exception, it will display information about the exception, and the program is terminated. And when program is terminated, you know that this statement will not be executed. Let's check the behavior. Now, I'm going to compile the program. Okay. Right. Again, you can see there is no compile time error because these are runtime errors. These are not caught by compiler. Compiler is too innocent. Compiler says things will be okay because it only checks syntax errors. Compiler does not check runtime error. It does not, have enough information about runtime things. So that is the reason why these exceptional things are actually ignored by compiler. Now see the behavior. I'm providing shape and the output, which is actually arg0 and arg1. But even if you are providing arg0 and arg1, you know that exception will not be thrown here, but exception will be thrown here. And the type of exception is not matching with the catch block. So obviously this catch block is not eligible to catch this type of exception. It means that catch we provided won't execute because it is not matching the type of exception. So default catch will be executed, which is actually Java's handler, which will do nothing, just display information about the exception and then terminate. Right, so you can see here, when we run the program, you can see java.lang arithmetic division by 0 at location number 12. You can see from here, from this location, the program is terminated. Because had it not been terminated, you would have seen this output, name equal to this, last name equal to this, but you're not seeing this output because the program has been terminated from here. Right. So it is important that when you provide a catch block, it should be matching to the type of exception which is thrown at the runtime. Otherwise, the catch block which you provide will not be executed and default catch will come into action. Right. Now, in order to deal with such type of situation in which you foresee that more than one type of exception can be thrown inside try block, you need to provide multiple catch blocks. So here, I have provided one catch block, which is for array index out of block, array index out of bounds exception, and now I provide another catch block. I say catch arithmetic exception E, right? And then this is doing nothing. This just displays the information, right? So you can see the system.out.println, right? I say inside catch 2, right? Now exception will be thrown here. This catch cannot execute. This catch will execute. It will display that we are inside catch 2, and then the good thing is because we are catching exception, the program won't be terminated. We will reach here, right? So you can see here Java C Java. So you can see inside cache 2, which actually shows that arithmetic exception was thrown, but we caught it, and then we do not terminate program. We reach to the last statement. Right. So this actually shows when you provide your own cache, it is important that the cache is matching to the exception which is thrown inside the try block. If it is not matching, then again, default handler which is provided by JRE will come into action. Right. Now remember, inside catch 2, we really do not know what happened. So it's always good to display that some exception has occurred at the runtime. So I have been, providing this arithmetic exception E. So what is this E? E is actually is an object of class arithmetic exception. If you display E, it will actually display information about the exception. So you can see here if I say system.out.println and I say E. So this will actually display information about the exception. So you can see here, I compile, run. So you can see inside catch 2, Java.lang arithmetic is revealed by 0. So this actually shows that exception was thrown. It's always a good idea to display the exception, because if you display E, it will actually tell you which exception was thrown, right? And as I told you earlier, if you are handling exception, your program won't be terminated. So in this case, exception was caught, and then we continue the execution, and we reach to the last statement. Right. So you can see here, it's a simple rule. If inside try you foresee more than one statement causing different exception, then you can provide multiple catch blocks. So if an array index out of bounds exception is thrown, this catch block will execute. And if a division by 0 exception is thrown, then this catch block will execute. Right, so you got the idea. Now remember, there absolutely cannot be anything between try and catch. If you try to provide a statement between try and catch, a simple statement, and would you just display a message? That's not possible, because there cannot be any statement between try and catch. Now, compiler will complain. Compiler will say, try without catch, right? Try without catch finally, because you know that between this try and this catch, you've got an statement. Between this try cannot see a catch, right? And it is always important that when you provide a try block, provide at least one catch block. Now, if you write a statement between try and catch, this try will not be able to see this catch, right? So obviously this will be an error. So you can have multiple catch blocks, but the thing is, there must not be any statement between try and catch. And when you've got multiple catch blocks, the catch block which will be executed, it depends on what is the type of exception. If the exception type is array index, then first catch block will execute. And if exception type is arithmetic, then second catch block will execute. Right. And if you are handling exception, if your catch block is executing, then code will not terminate and it will continue after the catch block. But if you are not handling exception and Java is handling exception by providing default handler, then default handler will display information, but then program will be terminated. Okay, so you got the idea of using try and catch. And we have also seen how to display information about exception. In this lecture here, when you come back in the next video, we've already seen multiple catch clauses. We'll see handling exception through exception class. Thank you very much.